A very warm welcome to each and every one of you. So today we will be presenting our live webinar, The Future of Spirits Reporting from Audit through to Expansion. My name is Sam Bear and I am the Bottle ERP Sales Manager, and this is Imad Malik, our Director of Development of Bottle ERP. So out of today's session, you will learn how to strengthen compliance and operational accuracy with automated HMRC Duty and EMCS reporting, gain clearer oversight of business structure through the streamlined subsidiary management and financial tracking, improve financial clarity with reliable and up-to-date profit and loss and trial balance insights, maintain full control of alcohol production and movement through precise LAA LPA tracking, boost your audit readiness and operational transparency with enhanced tracking and traceability reporting, and finally, understand your true costs and performance with accurate costs of goods sold, or COGS, calculations and intuitive dashboards. So here you can see a selection of some of our clients and partners that we currently work with. So you might be wondering why NetSuite. NetSuite is a cloud-based solution and system with 40,000 customers globally. It's upgraded twice a year, so you're not version locked, unlike some other systems out there on the market. Bottle ERP is built within that NetSuite platform and therefore naturally upgrades in parallel. So NetSuite at its core is a finance system. However, you can see on the wheel here that you get all of the other functionalities that come with it out of the box. So it's a full end-to-end platform from lead through to cash. It's the CRM, your manufacturing, your production, finance, all under one platform, which forms the basis of what we've built and why we have built Bottle ERP. So Bottle ERP is a distillery industry-specific management solution, bit of a mouthful, with all of the functionality you can see here and more. So in essence, we've bottled up a solution to have every single core functionality you might need for your spirit to thrive. From the grain in the field through to the bottled liquid in a customer's hand, we've got you covered. So when we say grain to glass, we quite literally mean end to end. So this is your component management with all of your recipes, your spirit production, your cask management, sample tracking, and moving through the process, bottling, warehouse management, LPA tracking, and HMRC reporting and integration. So Bottle ERP connects all of your essential business systems under one platform. So this includes your finance, CRM, inventory management, your e-commerce, and your supply chain tools. And this eliminates the silos, streamlines those operations, and helps your business run more effectively and efficiently with greater clarity and one source of truth. In addition to being all connected, we've taken this one step further with our very own warehouse management solution, WMS Go, a device-agnostic solution that can be used on the go for any smartphone or tablet. And the best part of this is that it's licenseless, and it's included with the core functionality as part of the Bottle ERP bundle. Here you can see a quote from one of our clients. So, through the work with Catalyst ERP, we have delivered a full digital transformation within the distillery, allowing our team to follow the production journey from ingredients through to cask selection, maturation, and eventually bottling. Being able to track and demonstrate the provenance of our whiskey is more important now than ever before, and Bottle ERP allows us to do this seamlessly. At the Borders Distillery, we bring together industry traditions with a forward-thinking approach, allowing us to address customer demands on a global scale. I'm now going to pass over to Imad, who will be demonstrating Bottle ERP. Please enter any questions you have into the chat box at the bottom of the screen. Enjoy the show.
Thanks, Sam. Hopefully everyone can see my screen now. There, cool, perfect. So I'm just going to go through various different elements, as Sam mentioned, around reporting, that being our topic of discussion today. We're going to start with some general things around dashboards and what are dashboards, how do you get access to your reports, and then we'll look at some more core financial elements as well as some LPA, duty, stock reporting, production reporting, all the way down to your margin reporting right at the end when you sell your final bottle and how that all works throughout the system as well. So just starting off with some general things. So I'm logged into the system, so NetSuite being the core system and Bottle ERP being our product. I'm looking at a dashboard, the dashboard being my view into the system based on my role and what I have access to. Each dashboard being unique to that role, that user, depending on how far you want to take it. In this case, I'm in a very generic role, so I can see some general reminders around production processes, LPA in, storage invoices, stock I might have, whatever it might be. But that's all key things I can look at and I can interrogate and click through as I need to. If I hover over and I change my role to a different role instead, so if I go to a finance role, my entire dashboard, my navigation, etc., everything changes to now be finance focused. My reminders on the left around purchase orders to bill, expenses that I need to approve. My elements in the middle around key financial reports, the P&L, the balance sheet, all the way down to items that are sold, board metrics, etc. And each dashboard, as I said, is very unique to what you're doing, depending on the role and permission. The system can also handle multiple companies. So in this instance, I've got multiple subsidiaries set up in this one account. I've got a holding company at the top, and then I've got a UK and a US company. What the system allows me to do is I can simply click on the UK element. That'll then live update all the dashboard elements to just look at that one subsidiary and update all the reminders, the metrics, etc., to be just for that one subsidiary. Or I can look at the US, or I can go back to my consolidated view. Regardless of what I want to do, I get real-time, accurate information from one source of truth because everyone is accessing the same. And all data is going into the one system. As I mentioned, I can go through and I can click on expenses to approve, and that'll take me straight through to the report. Everything is clickable to get the more detail as you need as you go through the process itself. And this is a finance one. If we look at a different example, we look at sales, for instance. My dashboard is now going to be more around sales, so CRM, opportunities that I need to do, phone calls that I might need to do, tasks that I might need to complete or that are due coming up, sales trends or quotas or whatever it might be, key performance indicators that I'm being tracked on, whatever it might be, because the system also is a CRM. Not only is it a finance system where you get your financial reports out, but from a sales point of view, when your salespeople are working on the road or working with customers, they can track their opportunities, their estimates, their sales activities within the system as well and determine different things on that. Again, just a different example of a different dashboard. And our third example is a generic non-finance role, which might be for operations, it might be for procurement, it might be for logistics, it might be a combination of all the above, depending on how your staff levels look and who's working on that kind of thing. And because of that, it's got a variety of different things on there. Vendor performance metrics. I've got KPIs around stock levels, payables. I've got graphs that I can change to look at my purchase trends. I've got my purchase orders that I need to look at. Again, everything I can click through, I can view, I can edit, I can go through to the vendors, click on any of the reminders as I need to. And each of these dashboards is customizable, configurable based on how you want to work and what that role does. So as a user, I can go to personalize and I can see I've got various different options to add new elements to the actual dashboard itself. So for instance, if I wanted to drag and drop just a report snapshot, I can drag that straight on there and I've got a report snapshot. So it's giving me a generic one out of the system, but I have the option to click on setup and pick one from the system. So this is competitive sales. I might want to look at invoices or items or whatever it might be, depending on my permissions that I have access to, will depend on what I can access and how I can access it. But that all then determines the different information. Is it a list format? Is it a swingometer? Is it a graph? Is it so far as a pivot table like I've got here for a stock report, where I've got my different stock levels for different items in the different locations? What am I looking at and what is the best way for me to consume that information? So that's your dashboard, your hub of information, the section of the system that you'll be looking at once you log in to determine, okay, what tasks do I need to do? What key things do I need to keep on top of? What are my key reports, my metrics? my shortcuts to various sections of the system, what are my key elements that I need to look at? If I flip back to my general role, we'll now look at some of the core financial elements. So the system is not just a cask management, a stock management, a production management system, but at its heart, it's a finance system. So all your financial elements around your costings for your different components that go into spirit production, your costings for storage, your sales revenue, whatever it might be, all that gets put into the same system. So when you're looking at it from a reporting point of view, you're looking at one source of truth for everything. And because of that, you get your core financial reports out of there as well. So if I hover over reports, I can see there's thousands of reports available. But if we go to financial, and we can have a look at the profit and loss. And this is the profit and loss directly out of the system. In this count, I've not got a very big chart of accounts. It's a very simple list. I've got my sales, my purchasing, my overheads, and my expenses. I can dig into any of these numbers as I need to. I can filter the range as I need to at the bottom, and I can also filter it on a particular subsidiary if I wanted to as well. Or like I have now, I'm looking at a consolidated view of my entire subsidiary structure based on how I've set it up in the system. And as I said, I can click on any of these and view the detail behind any of these numbers as I need to. Currently, my financial report is split by the total, so it's just showing me one total. But if I open up the column, I have the ability to split this out by my different segmentations or my classifications. These could be department, it could be sales channels, item classifications, sales sectors, whatever it might be, subsidiaries where you might want to split it out. Whatever it might be, you can then pick from there and then refresh that, and the system will automatically update that financial report based on that selection. So in this case, I've selected class and I've selected hierarchical view. In my account, this is set up to be different sales channels, so I can see different channels under different areas. So under central, I've got marketplace, web. Under Europe, I've got Amazon, I've got UK and Ireland. And as I mentioned, all these values are real-time live information pieces directly calculated from the system. But at any point, I can click on any of those numbers and I can see any of the key data points that I want to see. Going so far as showing me the transactions and then being able to hyperlink directly to the transaction record themselves as well. And you're not just stuck there looking at the information and having to see the information on the system itself. You have the ability to create a graph off the back of it, create a pivot table, to export it if you need to, or also send it as a schedule. There's lots of different ways you can report and deal with reporting within the system, but the general premise is if it's within the system, it can be reported on. It's kind of up to you how you want to see that data and how you want to consume that data itself. So generally, it's all quite straightforward. So yeah, that's the profit and loss. We'll have a look at some of the other ones. So I've got profit and loss. I've got my balance sheet. If we have a look at that as well, where we have the same sort of concept where I have my columns, I have my subsidiaries, I have the ability to select a certain period, and I can split it by my classifications in the system. And these classifications are set up as you need to as well. So I can see there's a question that I can answer. Can this system integrate with a system like Xero? So when you're talking about a finance system, when you're talking about a system like Bottle ERP and NetSuite, this would replace anything like a Xero or a Sage or anything like that. Your financial elements, your AP, AR, your month end, etc., would all be dealt with through the system itself as it needs to. So yeah, that's some of the core financial reports out of that system. There are other elements around your trial balance, your general chart of accounts, your exchange rates, your currencies, etc. But they're the financial reports that you get. You do also get the ability to do your taxes through the system. So the system is accredited to be making tax digital compliant. So you can post your standard VAT report or your VAT returns as you need to go from the system itself. So that can all be done as needed. But as you'll see, there's various reports around purchasing, stock management, sales orders, marketing, web presence, vendors, everything you need for a core financial system and availability for additional reports as well on there. And we've taken it a bit further. We've got those standard reports, which is hundreds, if not thousands, of them in the system itself. But we also have allowed you to see that core alcohol data, as Sam was mentioning, around LPA, around duty, around other elements, around your casks and the liquid you're holding. And to make it as simple as possible, we hold all that under Bottle ERP reporting and split it by the category. And we'll have a look at some of these categories. So for instance, LPA in, I can track the LPA in itself, the LPA out, anything that might be in transit, anything that is to do with gains and losses, and we'll have a look at some of these reports as well. And the key thing to mention is that these are the standard reports, or some of the standard reports anyway, out of the system, but reports in every sort of way can be customized quite easily. And we always train our customers on how to do their own reports, how to update their own dashboards, and how to add elements to the dashboards themselves. So this is a very basic LPA in report, which just shows me item receipts or transfers that I've done, stock, if it's from a vendor, the value of LPA that was moved between the different places. And then same with LPA out. I have various filters at the top for customer status or date, and I can see the LPA value per item and then the total LPA for the line, as well as if there was duty applicable, what the duty might have been, and if it's not, what the duty should have been, as well as the status as well. If it's paid, if it's payable, if it's an under bond transaction, how are we dealing with it going through the system itself? As I mentioned, each one of these reports can be edited, customized as you need to, depending on how you want to interact with the data itself. But very much like reports that we were looking at, those financial reports, any stock reports that you have under that menu structure, you can, with these Bottle ERP reports also, if you need to export them to CSV, Excel, PDF, set them on a schedule as well. So you might want a sales report that's sent to you every week, or a margin report, which we'll look at in a little bit, sent to you every week automatically to have it in your inbox, or you can have it on your dashboard. All of these reports that I'm looking at can be accessed in various different ways through the system directly, through dashboards, automated emails, reminders on your screen, whatever it might be. There's many different ways to consume the data within the system itself. If we continue on and we have a look at some of the duty reports, so we've got W5, W5D for the current process. We've also got a couple of other reports around payments that we've made, journals that have been created in the system, as well as anywhere that we need to pay duty currently, as well as upcoming liability as well. So we look at them in slight reverse order. We look at duty to be paid. This is just a list of transactions where the status is marked as duty payable and the theoretical duty, or the actual duty, should I say, against it as well. In the system, we're tracking the duty rate as well. So that can be set up through the system itself, where you have, as it's set up in HMRC, based on the strength, you're setting the different rates. Based on that, the system is then going to apply the correct rate to the item or items that need to be paid. And you might be paying them at point of production, you might be paying them at point of sale, it might be a mix, you might be paying them at point of transfer. Regardless of how it works, the system is able to cope with all of that because we're tracking the LPA, the actual duty, and all the movements as well of the stock with it throughout the system, be it a third-party location, be your own location as you need to as well. So that's one of the reports. And then I've also got upcoming duty, so things that are not currently payable, but they are potentially coming up. So sales orders in this case that are going to breach that duty payable barrier. So as soon as they go through, there is going to be an element of duty that might need to be paid as well through the system. And then from there, you can take that information and you can use the W5, the W5D screen to post this to HMRC to tell them, actually, we need to pay for this, or we pay for this as we need to. And the system supports both methods in terms of prepayment and paying ad hoc as you go, depending on how you want to do it. So if you prepay for the next 6 months, the next year, whatever it might be, and you want to call off on that number, the system allows you to do that, or pay as you go as well. You can do that within the system itself. At every point, the system is going to show you the duty liability and allow you to attribute that to the cost of the product to allow you to get an accurate lot margin or margin report out of the system as well, which we'll have a look at in a minute. So I'm on my W5 street screen, so I can select the location that I want to just filter down to, which will just show me the items for that location. So in this case, I've got 2 lines for different fulfillments that are payable. Within the system, I can see which customer they're for. I can link back to the actual transaction if I need to, all the way down to the item, the actual unit, the rate, the duty, etc. From here, I can select one or multiple lines as I need to, depending on if I'm paying for it now, or I'm prepaying it and I'm just marking them off, however I'm dealing with it. From there, if we review the selection, that's going to take me to a second screen where it's going to tell me to make the payment of, in this case, £154.24 to HMRC. I need to pick the bank account. So if it was a prepayment, I'll pick my prepayment account. In this case, I'm just going to pick my general bank account, put in a payment reference as well through the system. System's going to keep track of the sequence number as it needs to. And I've got my generic submission table on here as well. And if there was tax that needed to be applied on here, you could have that process showing up on here as well. And from here, I now have the option. I can go straight in and submit it straight to HMRC, or I can keep it manual and still do the old way of logging into the portal as I need to submit it. But if I am just submitting it straight to my HMRC, all I'm doing is I'm clicking that button there, and then that will post all this information directly to HMRC itself for me through a live integration we've got through the system. In this case, my integration is set up with their test account, but it'll give you an idea of how it works. And to make sure everything is captured, we have a generic overview overall record that is created called the duty payment record, where we're tracking which company it's for, who submitted it, what is the total values, the LPA and the duty, what accounts were selected, and what references were selected as well. And as you can see at the top, we've got a message saying that the HMRC integration will process the request, and then once it's approved, we'll get our W5 number back, the reference back as well. But what the system's going to be doing in the background, it's going to be carrying out a couple of updates for us as well. So if we give it a second to just process, we'll be able to see a couple of changes that have happened. You don't have to wait for this process. This can be done in the background as needed. It very much depends how you want to do it. What the system's going to do is it's going to link this duty payment to that transaction. So I can see the transaction at the bottom, and then it's also going to make the journal automatically to move the payment across from the liability as well. So that it's closing off the financial loop automatically for you, but it's also then pushing that information directly to HMRC, so you're not having to deal with logging into the portal to copy the numbers across from one system to another, as the system will be able to push that information for you. And as I mentioned, we support both prepayments and we support the pay-as-you-go as well, if needed, depending on how you work. So that was some of the elements around duty and LPA. In terms of other general reports we have in the system, so we have finished stock reports, bulk stock reports, component stock reports, and we'll take a look at a couple of these. So we've got duty paid stock, samples that I might have in stock, samples you might have taken out of your casks, for instance, samples you might have taken at point in production. We can track all that information in the system. We can track where the sample came from, how much the sample was. Each sample that gets generated, as we covered in one of the previous sessions, gets a unique number. We're tracking how much was taken out, the ABV at that point, the LPA, and all the key information points of that, as well as the location of that sample as well. So as you're using it, as you're sending it, if you need to pay duty on that sample, it's all tracked as a proper product in its own right, so we can track it within the system. You're just getting the ability to track all those samples you might have that you've generated and where they've come from. And because of that, because you do get all in one system, you still get all the auditability, the traceability that comes with the rest of the platform. And if you have a look at one of the other reports that links into the traceability, the grain to glass screen. So this is the ability to look at various different products. It might be a bottled product, it might be a cask, it might be anything in between, and it'll show you the full history of it. Because we're reporting and we're entering all the data in one system, I'm able to look at the entire data set by putting in just one number, and then the system is able to show me the entire history for that transaction all the way through, or that product in this case. So in this case, I've got an example for a bottled product with the batch number of IM1342. That's come from this assembly build, so this production order. I can open that up and I can see what components went into that. And if these components were batch controlled, I would be able to see the purchase orders they came from. But because the liquid is batch controlled, we can see where that liquid came from, the sample it came from, the vatting it came from, well, what was vatted, these 5 casks, etc., all the way till we get to this final view of everything, all the way from the top right to the bottom of purchase orders, production orders, regauges, samples, re-rackings, whatever it might be, all the way to the production. Because you're auditing and you're tracking everything in the one system, and users are using WMS Go, using NetSuite as you need to, directly, you're all updating the live information at the same time. And that means your dashboards and all the reports you're looking at are all live as well. And a couple of other reports, if we look at bulk stock, so I can look at a simple bulk stock report that is just looking at a list of all our casks, our vessels, IBCs, whatever it might be. I can look at the parcels or stock by parcels or stock that might be in transit. I can look at angel share or predicted angel share, and then what does the value of that potentially mean as well. Or I can look at some other reports around stock management and how do we manage our casks in this particular warehouse or a location. So we look at some of these reports. So if I look at my first report, which is just a list of all my bulk stock I have the ability to add various different filters at the top. And as I mentioned, all these reports that I'm showing you are all customizable and can be configured as needed. And we always show all our customers how they can tailor it if they need to add additional unique filters just to your one business or add additional elements as needed. But on here, I can see my different assets for my different vessels. I can see where they're all located, the batch numbers, if they're part of a parcel, if they're owned by a customer or if we own them, and then general information about the asset, the wood type, number of fills, and if we are storing it ourselves, where is it stored, all the way down to the ABV, the AYS, and if I scroll right across, the bulk, the LPA, and then finally the cost per bulk, the cost per LPA, and the total cost. And that's all automatically calculated. So these final elements that are around here, the cost, because we're tracking as part of production, which again, we'll have a look at in a second, the costs that go into that production, the labor that might go into it, the water, the electricity, the time, the yeast, the malt, the grain, any enzymes, anything like that that you might put into the process, we're tracking the costs of those, and they're all controlled by the batches as you bring them in, the warehouse staff or distillery staff is receiving them in, putting the information against them, against that purchase order, we're receiving them in, and then they're consumed on the production side. We're able to accurately give you a cost per LPA per bulk for each individual cask as they're filled. But we're also able to give you that at the bulk liquid level as well. If you want it for one production, we can give you the total, but we can also break it down per item, component, service, etc. that's gone into it. So you can start tracking trends. You can start tracking your PSY to your ASY, and you can start tracking all those key bits of information without you actually having to do any additional steps, because you're just getting everyone to use the one system instead of using a bit of paper here, one system there, another system there, copying information from a production system to a finance system. Because it's all in one system itself, there's no need to do that. It's all automatic. It carries all that weight for you, and it allows you to have the power of real-time reporting directly within the system itself. And that was one of my reports. And I can have a look at that information in a slightly different way. If I actually consume information in a visual way, I have the ability to use this container management report, which again has various filters on that I can see my different assets, my IBCs, my casks, whatever it might be. I can see the key information against each one. So the type, the wood, if it's aging, how old it is, etc. All that key information with a slight visualization on it as well for my vessels as well. And this might be vessels that I'm holding, it might be vessels that are stored in a third party, doesn't really matter. The system is going to allow you to see that information. And because it's a finance system, we're also able to then link into the asset and link into the batch and be able to dig in deeper if we wanted to go through that information. So if I just click on the asset information, asset number, sorry, for as an example, that'll load up my asset record. I can click on the batch link, and then that'll load up my batch record and go through as I need to. If I go to my asset, for instance, you'll see all that key information that I looked at on the report around my asset type, any depreciation I have on valuations, because those assets themselves can be quite valuable, as well as the cask information, conditions, and then the stock information. So what stock is it? What item is it for? If it's part of a parcel, are we storing it? All the way down to actually, where was this vessel purchased? Was it purchased full? Was it purchased empty? What did we purchase at? When did we purchase it? And if I ever want more detail, I've got hyperlinks to every single section. Wherever you see this little blue element, you have hyperlinks to dig in deeper as you need to. So as I said, you consume the data as you need to, but it really depends on what information you want to see and how you want to see it. But as long as the information's there, we can report on it. Just depends how. And we've got a couple of other reports. If I look at, for instance, a stock management report. So in this account, for instance, I've got a location where I'm tracking the vessels and I'm storing the vessels. So I can select my location and I can see that location itself. And I've set up my warehouse to be split into a certain section to have a certain capacity. So in this example, my warehouse has 16,710 capacity, but I'm only using 20 casks in there currently, so it's very minimal filled. But based on the structure that I've set up, I've got bays A to H, and each one has varying capacity based on what I've set up in the system, all the way down to B has my vessels in, so I can open up that level and I can dig in deeper and I can see actually, okay, level 2 is where, in this case, I've got some casks. So level 2 has a capacity of 72. So think of bays as my rows and levels as my columns. And then the next level being my height. So I've got my rack height, for instance. So this is set up for pallets, but it can be set up for racks as needed if that's how you store your casks. All the way down to be able to see the capacity at each level. So I can see the racks have a capacity of 6 vessels or based on what I've set up. And then I can open it up and see the vessels all the way down and see those as well and see the key information. And again, hyperlink directly to those vessels from here and dig in deeper if I needed to. Just another way to see that piece of information, depending on how you want to see it and how you want to consume it. So that was a slight deviation looking at some stock reports, but going back to some financial reports, some LPA reports themselves as well. I've got an example report here for predicted angel share. So for different stock that I've produced over the years, what is my predicted angel share from year 1 to year 20 as an example, and what is my current RLA based on the last time I might have regauged them as well. So I can see based on the first year being, in this case, a 4% loss, and then 2% loss each year on top of that, I can see even though I might have started at a higher value, I'm going to end up at predicted 78,000 LPA roundabout when I get to year 20 with everything. Some of them being slightly older already, so year 13. So I can have a look at that. That should be around predicted 3,000. Based on my last RLA, it's 4,000. And if I wanted to, I could always put my date on for when the RLA was done, add additional information around costings, etc. as I need to. Or I can look at a second report as an example, which uses that information and adds a value to it. So using a theoretical pricing table per LPA, I can see that even though my LPA quantity, my volume is going down, my actual valuation of the stock goes from less than 1 million to all the way up to 21, 22 million by the year 20 if everything ages as predicted. And again, all that information is available because we're tracking the casks, we're tracking the information in the system. And if we wanted to, we could compare that with potential costs, storage costs, predicted storage costs throughout the system in comparison against actually predicted value of liquid in 20 years to predicted storage costs to get our predicted value out as well, predicted revenue that we might get if we sold it in year 10 to year 20 to year 15, whatever it might be. We have that flexibility built into the system to allow you to interrogate the data how you want to. It just depends what information you want to interrogate. And as I said, I'm not going to show you all the hundreds of reports in this session. I'm going to go through a couple of them. And then if you would like more information, feel free, we can go through it in more detail in a demo. Looking at some other areas on the system, as I mentioned, we have parcels as well that we can track the stock for. The system will generate the parcels as it need to as well. But we're also tracking component stock. So this might be your bottles, it might be your yeast, it might be your grain in the system, whatever it might be. We're tracking that information in the system, the GNS, if you're not producing your own GNS, whatever liquid or item you're tracking, we can track that in the system as well. Track the LPAs in, track the LPAs out, the quantities, the values. And then when you get to a more financial side, doing three-way matches on the bill to the purchase order to the receipt to make sure they're all working the same as well. All the way down to taking it a step further where I talked about we can track bulk stock and you can look at just a list of all bulk stock, and I touched on a little bit on customer owned stock, but we have the capability of holding customer owned stock within the system, being able to report on who is owning each cask. If it's any broker stock, we can handle that as well. But we take it a step further as well with all that. So I've got an example report here which just shows me my customer owned casks, where I can see my casks that are owned by various different customers, the current item that is currently in there, the batch number, what the potential OLA was, and the rate, if we had a rate that we applied, as well as any storage that we're charging them as well. Because that's one thing you can do with the process. You can not only track the customer on casks, report on that value, you can also track storage. So you might be charging them storage for it. And that might be £5 a week, it might be £10 bi-weekly, whatever the structure is, the system can track it. And then it can generate the invoice automatically for you. And you can get reports off the back of that to allow you to see that information where I can see my open storage invoices. I can see my expected revenue because I've got my storage schedules. But I can also take it a little bit further as well. So I can also do pre-sales of casks as well. So it might be private sales, it might be pre-fill sales, it might be just pre-sales before you even have the liquid produced, you might be pre-selling it. And that might include 5 years, 10 years of potential storage, insurance. You might include bottling into that fee. So let's say it's £2,000 you've charged them. And out of that 2,000, £1,000 is storage and insurance. And you're going to give them storage for 5 years in that, and you're going to store it for them for 5 years. Well, that extra element of storage and insurance for those 5 years needs to be accounted for. System will automate that for you. You can set it up in the system where if I have a look at the schedule on the system, so SR45, we can have a look at that in the system in a second. So the system can set that up and we can recognize the revenue automatically. We can get reports, as I've got an example here, where I've got my total amount that needs to be recognized, how much has been recognized already, and what's left to be recognized. Because the system's going to generate, as I'm creating the process, to say I've actually made a private cask sale, or I've made a pre-fill sale, or I've just sold a filled cask, as I need to, depending on what I want to do. This is the arrangement I've got this customer, or these are the arrangements I've got for storage, insurance, bottling, any other process. And the system's going to automate that, giving me an ability to recognize that revenue automatically and shift the money from deferred to actual recognized monthly automatically for me, creating the schedule and then lifting it at the end as needed. And that's my storage revenue report. That's an example. So as I said, we can track your bulk stock, we can track your customer-owned stock, you can track your own stock, be it in your own locations, be it in third-party locations, you can track your revenue recognition as you need to. It very much depends what you want to do and how you want to see that information will depend on what information you will see. But if we take that a step further, we can see sales information as well. As I've been talking, as I've gone through around sales reporting, we can see pre-filled cask sales, as I said, cask sales that are waiting, sales that are ex-duty, because duty can make up a large portion of it. Or in this case, we can just look at our lot margin reporting itself. And this report will show me the ability to see, based on those costs that I've been talking about as part of production, as part of normal operations, if it's just in and out, whatever it might be, the system, as I've gone, has collated those costs for me and has allowed me to get a more accurate margin report out of it. So I can see against every single sales order, against every single order that is done, the batch that is sold, the invoice that is made on, the fulfillment. I can then see the revenue, any sort of costs, the margin, with just that taken into account. And if I had to pay duty on it, what is that including duty? And then what's my margin taken out of duty as well? Keep in mind, this is my test account, so some of the data is obviously a bit skewy, but it gives you an example of just some of the art of the possible. Because we have all that information in one account, we can get the system to automatically give us a true margin pre and post duty, depending on when I'm paying duty, all the way to the individual bottle batch, to the liquid batch, the cask, to whatever it might be. The system is tracking that information automatically for you, giving you real-time data that you can trust, because it's all in one system and you're not having to duplicate the effort. And I've talked a couple of times about production and how production reports work as well, because we have a full production suite where you can track your entire milling to distillation process in the system, keep it super simple and just do single stage if you want to. Track your WIP, track your allocations, etc., track your fermentations as you need to in the system. But you can break it down even further. And if you have a look at some of the example reports I've got here, so for instance, if as part of your production, you're tracking faults, I can track my different faults by different processes. I can track who's done them, if it's for certain durations. For instance, if in this example, I have a broken light, that lasted 36 minutes. I can put any additional notes into them. I can track my utilities within the system as well for the different values I want to track. So it might be electric, water, gas, whatever it might be. You can set up the system to have those split out, track the different values, track the metrics, and track and get log who does it. Because not only is everything in one system, but the system is automatically auditing and tracking who does what as well within the system as well. Be it through WMS Go, be it through NetSuite, it doesn't matter. You're always going to see, as we've seen on a lot of those screens, completed by, logged by, done by, whatever it might be, because we're automatically auditing and tracking who's done it as well. All the way down to this final report that we were looking at, which is my production report, which allows me to see a cost breakdown for one of my products in the system itself. So if I look at an example, I can see my new make spirit, which this batch, the total cost, which is quite high, and I can see the split down of that cost. If I go through, I have the ability, as I said, on quite a few of those reports, I can click through, I can dig into that information, I can see where that total cost came from. So I can see the total cost is 282. I can then see, okay, most of that has somehow came from water, but I've got a breakdown for my components. I've got a breakdown for my non-inventory components like my water, and any service charges, so electricity, labor, depreciation, whatever it might be, waste, whatever it might be, what any processes that I have that I've built into it, I can track automatically, set up a costing plan for that, and then the system will automatically track that, and then you compare the costing to the actual. So not only are you seeing, well, this is what I think what's going to happen, you can see this is what's actually happened as well, giving you the availability to see both sides of the system without you having to do too much as well. So that was a snapshot of some of the reports that are available in our system, from LPA to duty to transactional reporting to general utility management to the core financial elements that you would expect from the system, all the way to your dashboards that we looked at right at the start, where you can tailor those dashboards depending on what you want to see, as you want to see them, change the reminders, change the shortcuts, add additional elements as you need to. The system is very flexible to work how you want to do, but it's built for this industry and allows you to capture that core information within one place without having to duplicate the effort. But that concludes my live demo, so I'm going to pass back over to Sam on his side.
Thank you very much, Imad. So what we've shown today, we have shown you how you can strengthen your compliance and operational accuracy, gain clearer oversight of business structure, improve financial clarity, maintain the full control of your alcohol production, boost your audit readiness and operational transparency, and then finally understood your true cost of goods sold and performance. Thank you very much. And I would welcome any questions to the floor. You can use the chat box in the bottom of the screen, which says Q&A.
So just while we wait for some questions before I answer any others, I'll just recover the one I covered before just to make sure it was heard by everybody. So when we're talking about Bottle ERP, we're talking about a full end-to-end platform. We're talking from a grain to glass, but also core financial elements covered as well. So when you're talking about other systems like Xero or Sage, this system would replace that. It would also replace any other CRM elements you might have or support management elements you might have. Because the idea is it's an all-in-one system that allows you to see the data live without having to manually copy and paste information from one system to another or to do any sort of integrations. And because everyone's working in the same system at the same time, it's all real time, it can be trusted, it's accurate because we're tracking everything, it's audited all the way back from every single process within the system itself.
Okay, thank you very much. Imad, how easy is it to edit reporting and dashboards?
So yeah, as I mentioned a couple of times on the actual process, it's super easy to actually edit them. It is, as you would have seen on some of the screen, there is literally an edit button right at the top of the screen that says edit this report, or on the bottom left, depending on what style of report you're looking at. Goes into edit. It is then just a depending on what type, a drag and drop or a select from a list of options that you want to see, and then you go from there. So editing reports, super simple. We always train our customers on how to do it, so you get a leg up on it. But once you get into the system, it becomes quite easily a second nature to create your own reports, create your own dashboard elements as you need to, depending on the information you want to see. And again, it's just how you want to see it. It's not what you want to see, it's how you want to see it.
Brilliant. And are you able to audit what people have done in the system, and how do you do that?
Yeah, so auditing directly on some of those reports as you need to, where I've added them as an example, where I can see the logged by, completed by, etc., all directly on those. But on every single page, which I haven't shown today, but we have shown on a couple of other ones, is the system information tab. So everything everyone does, every piece of information from the individual data points of the field, from memos to dates, anything that is tracked in the system is tracked on who's done it, how they changed it or added it or removed it, and how when it's happened and what have they changed. So not only is it creations, updates, but it's also deletions as well within the system. It's complete control over users' access to what they can do, and when they do something, what they've done within the system as well. It's fully
Brilliant. Any other questions? I'll just leave it open for another minute or so. I think that's us. Brilliant. Imad, if you'd like to put on the next slide, please. So thank you very much for all of you for joining us today. Again, reach out to me if you would like to discuss further. My email address is here. My telephone number is also here. Drop me a message and would love to have a chat. Thank you very much. And any other questions, please just drop me an email as well.
Thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you.